The name of this workshop is Step 12, Working with Others, Sponsorship. My name is Darlene. I'm a compulsive overeater. Welcome to the first ever Dallas Virtual Convention. This session's format is one speaker for 45 minutes, then the floor will be open for 2-minute question and answers and shares. Before I introduce the speaker, here is some housekeeping information. Attendees are set to mute. We ask you to rename yourself to your first name and last initial. If you wish, you can add your phone number or email. This session is being recorded. Only the audio portion will be made available. Yes, this is the lunch hour. If you are eating, or if you have to get up, or if you're driving, just please turn off your video. And we may turn off your video for you. Please send a chat message when you're ready to have your video turned back on. If you want to change your view settings, click on the view button on the top right of your screen. You can choose either gallery or speaker view. Also, please note that chat is set to host only. Questions and comments will only be seen by the host. Our speaker is beautiful woman inside and out, Beverly R. from Arizona.
Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Beverly, and I'm grateful to be in long-term recovery from food obsession, and I have an eating disorder. Grateful to be here and to see so many old friends and share with you. So I'm one of those prehistoric OA people. I go back to 1963, and it's I came into the program in Los Angeles in 1963. And I've been in and out. I was out for 10 years at one point in the 90s, but it took me 8.5 years to surrender. And what I have today, I talk about 49.5 years of food sobriety. I don't call it abstinence. I was a gray sheeter for 12.5 years, perfect back to back, all of that. And so for me, OA has been a life journey. You know, in October, we're talking about my 50th anniversary of my surrender. I talk about my first final surrender. And to talk about sponsorship is a great joy for me because I've had many wonderful sponsors, and I've been a sponsor. I still sponsor today. I don't sponsor new people, however, unless I have that connection. What did Bill Wilson said? The language of the heart. So we are kinship in suffering, is what he said. And so we have had our obsession and a veritable destructive lunacy, a veritable destructive lunacy. So for us, that really describes the food obsession because, and for me, what I understood after the first 20 years, really, the first 20 years in recovery, is that there's an attack phase. That was what I considered my attack phase. And for me to go on and being rigid, black and white for the rest of my life, it isn't what my spiritual journey and what my higher power and I understood life to be. Life was to be while living, and to be perfectionist and put the food first and make it cut off. It's like it cut off that joy of being a part of. I had to learn to become an empty vessel. I think that's the job in any spiritual journey, is to become an empty vessel. When I came in, so I was over 200 pounds. In my life, I've been 235. 235 was my top weight, and that was when I was 22 years old, 23 maybe, somewhere around that. I was a chronic dieter. I was a fat kid. I was 150 pounds when I was 9 years old. I went into high school, I was 220. We started on pills and shots and amphetamines when I entered high school. My story is in the OA book, the first brown book, and I think the second one, but not in the latest one. And it's called Beautiful Woman Inside and Out. And that's how the leader introduced me. And that's, who I was in the beginning years in OA. I was a yo-yo. I yo-yoed with my weight from the time I'm, 14 years old until I came into OA when I was 32. So yes, I just had my 90th birthday. Are you shocked? I am. I look in the mirror and I'm having a grand old time at 90. I can't walk too good. I totter around, but I'm dancing and I'm still sharing, and my joie is still here. And that joie, the joie de vivre, that joy of living, has come from these 12 steps and these rooms and having the love of a sponsor. I'm going all over the place, but there's a lot I want to tell you. There's a lot that I've journeyed through. There's a lot I'm going toward. And, but in OA and through a sponsor, I was able to connect. For me, I was a very bright kid and bright in school, and I was an overachiever in life. I was a functioning fat girl. I girdled myself so that I would look good. And, I grew up in the 30s and 40s, the 50s, I got married. And so it was, a whole different world. And there's a lot to be said for that world. And having sponsors to bounce off of, because I had no self-worth when I came in. I knew all the answers for everyone else, but for myself, inside, I was dying. And we talk about that first step of my life has become unmanageable, powerless, no question. But dealing with that, my life has become unmanageable. That's where the sponsorship thing really comes in. And Bill Wilson talked about, there's something here in this little pamphlet about faith that he wrote. He said, in the first 6 months of my own sobriety, I worked hard with many alcoholics. Not a one responded. Not a one responded. Yet, this work kept me sober. It wasn't a question of those alcoholics giving me anything. My stability came out of trying to give. My stability came out of trying to give. And in the beginning, I had, sponsors. They would take me to meetings. They forced me to do service. I did whatever they told me. I went to 4 or 5 meetings a week in the beginning years. And they took my hand and they spoon fed me. I became secretary I did whatever I could, and I became a representative to the World Service Conference in 1968. So, and that started my service, really my service career. And I served on the Board of Trustees from 1972 to 80, 75 to 82. And everything changed for me in so many ways, in so many different phases of recovery. And I think I'm going all over the map here, but if you can't follow me, let me know somehow. Anyways, I'm very happy to be here and to share with you. So let me go back to the story. I came to OA, and as I said, and I came to Los Angeles, and I moved to Phoenix in 1970. And when I came to Phoenix, there was no OA. And to make a long story short, 3 of us in 1971 got a meeting going, and the meetings are still, going today. But in the beginning, I held on to those meetings so tightly, and I wanted to run everything. And I sponsored, I think after 10 years, I had sponsored everybody in the program. I've learned a lot. And what my sponsors told me then was that you are here for your recovery. Just like Bill said, he didn't get anybody sober, but somehow he was sober by sharing, by carrying the message, practicing the principles, practice. And that's, my life today is 10, 11, and 12. Continue, improve, and practice. So that practice of carrying the message and being of service and of use is the ultimate joy in life. And how do we do that? A sponsor helps us, and it helped me, to get out of myself. One of my first sponsors said to me, Beverly, you suffer from exceptionality. All the rules were made for everybody, but you don't understand. I am this, but you don't, I can't quite do that. What? Weigh and measure my food, call every day, make 3 outreach calls. I can't do any of that. And so it was a matter of getting this ego in line with who I am really, and looking at my character defects and seeing how my nicey outward young lady was really a witch inside. And I had to attack the bitch. I had to know who she was and find that beautiful, loving soul inside. And through the years, I've had many mantras. For me, it wasn't so much that I liked myself. I did not. And so my sponsor got me started in affirmations at my final surrender. And that surrender was in October of 1975. And 75, 71, yes. Okay. It's 48 and a half years, whatever that is. And my 90-year-old brain goes on freeze sometimes. But anyways, that final surrender came before Halloween. It was, we would start freezing trick and treat candies before Halloween in August. And my husband and I would hit the freezer, and I'd keep refilling. By the time October came, there was no candy there. And so I'd have to keep refilling. So this was the October, it was before Halloween. And I was into the trick and treat candy, and I was beside myself. I called my sponsor and I said, "What's wrong with me?" And she said, "Oh, Beverly, there is beauty in desperation." She said, "Oh, Beverly, now you're ready. You're finally at the desperate phase, and there's beauty in desperation." And, you know, we call it the gift of desperation, GOD. And I said, "Well, my guts are spattered on the floor and you're telling me there's beauty in desperation?" And she said, "Yes, because now you're ready. Now you're willing. Now you can do this." And somehow that obsession was lifted from me that day. I don't know how, but I put one foot in front of the other. And for the next 12 and a half years, I weighed and measured my food on gray sheet and began to really refine my character, just like it says in the book. I had been doing that, you know, for 8.5 years, but I didn't get very far. The minute I would see, you know, that I was at fault in some cases, I would run from that. I couldn't. The fact that there would be any flaw in my character was just unacceptable. So I had to break those patterns. I had to really surrender, as we say, not just tolerate the program, not just submit to my powerlessness, but surrender to it and understand the beauty in it and of opening this beautiful soul. I knew people would tell me, "Oh, you have such a pretty face, dear. You're so brilliant. You're so smart. You can do this. You can," you know, I didn't know what they were talking about. It didn't, nothing stayed inside. It just bounced out of me because there was no self-worth. And wherever we come from in the program, we are kin, we have a kinship in suffering, and we don't like ourselves. And it's the journey in life that gets us to the place where we understand food is not the be all end all of the world. There are other things. And once that food is put in its place, a world opens up for us. And all of these principles apply. You know, I have grandchildren and children and great grandchildren today, and we were all together for my 90th birthday. And oh, I'm looking at my 90-year-old arms. Anyways, we were all together for my birthday, and they said some marvelous things. They want to hear from me. They want to hear my stories. And none of that could have been possible without the suffering and the caring of one person talking to another. So I guess I covered the past pretty well. Let's talk about sponsorship. In my book, all of my sponsors have said this to me: as sponsors to the level of their sobriety, sponsors for, they share experience, strength, and hope. We are not here to teach or preach. We are not here to control anybody's life. We do not give advice. We only share experience, strength, and hope. For some of us that are, you know, serious controllers, the temptation to tell somebody what to do and have a big flock of people following is very tempting and very often happens. That only keeps that person from going forward, in my opinion. And these are all my opinions anyway, for whatever they're worth. And you're listening, so that's the good news. So it is a very strict rule of mine that a sponsorship relationship must be a two-way street. I do this for my recovery. Of course, I want to help you. Of course, I want to see you thrive. That's how we thrive together. And that's how I learn. I learned from my sponsors, the sponsee's journey, because very often they're going through things that I did and don't remember, and it brings it all back in case I forget. In case I forget how deadly this disease can be, they can remind me, and I can help them, bring them up with my experience of how I did it, how my higher power has empowered me. And you know, in that 12th step, we talk about we get the power back. So that power comes with working with others, with sponsoring. It is a great gift of the program. My sponsees become my friends. We become a network. I think Terrell calls it his God Squad. Today, I don't have anyone that I call my sponsor, but I do have a God Squad that I call, and that people that are available, that I connect with, that we have heart energy, the language of the heart, because we can be honest. And this program is about honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. So the blessings of having a sponsor, looking at your own bullshit and cleaning it up and getting to the next phase of recovery. You know, Bill Wilson talked about the next stage, emotional sobriety, as being the next stage of recovery. And for me, in my journey, I don't weigh and measure my food today, and I eat anything I want. What has happened is I want only things that are healthy for the body. It's been a marvelous journey for me. And the idea of adding, of eating things that are going to hurt me, it doesn't resonate. I go out, you know, and for my birthday, we had all of these wonderful dinners, and I was very concerned about my food, and I shared with several people. And these days, I have all kinds of, I had COVID, and I've had lung cancer, and I have, oh gosh, hyponatremia, hypoglycemia. I'm not going to give you the list of all the ills I have. I'm very arthritic and artificial joints, so forth. But I dance. Nothing defines me. None of that. I do not argue for my limitations. My eating disorder is a limitation. I am never going to argue for it. I'm never going to tell you, oh, I can't eat that. So I'm just going to suffer here with my raspberries. That's not going to happen. It did happen. It is the way it was for me, but it is not now. I live in the real world, and I think it's important for people to understand that if you stick long enough, if you are really willing to work these steps, to have a sponsor, to be a sponsor, get in service, open yourself up as to the spiritual experience. And for me, that started, you know, I realized that I had that surrender in October of 25th. And as I say, for 12 and a half years, I weighed and measured. And then something happened. Took my husband. My husband died 17 years ago, but we went to a rehab place for heart. It was a live-in facility in Santa Monica. And it was there that I learned about the good grains and things that are healthy, and it kind of turned a corner, and I accepted that way of eating for a number of years, and that morphed into other, you know, I'm always seeking, I'm always searching. And when I find someone in OA who shares that, we connect immediately. And as I say, I have this God squad. The important thing in sponsoring for me is to understand that I'm not here to teach, preach, or control anyone else's life. I am here to share experience, strength, and hope. I can't say that enough. And for me, I've been told, and I think I am, a message of hope. I think where I've come from and the place I'm at today and through the years has been just a tremendous journey and a great joy. And OA is there for me. Having Zoom and having these meetings available has been a real blessing for all of us during COVID, especially. And now we don't know, our Friday meeting is talking about, well, should we go in person? And there's 5 people going in person, but the bulk of us want to be on Zoom. So we'll have to figure that out as to keeping it at perhaps, hybrids. And maybe we can do conventions that way as well as in person and a hybrid. But anyways, so there's something in chapter 7, working with others. So it says, life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. And that has happened for me. I watched a fellowship grow up around me in Phoenix, and the kind of quality of people and the quality of the meetings and friends and what's happening is it's a great joy. For me, I continue to take personal inventory. When I'm wrong, promptly admit it. And that 11th step to improve my conscious contact with God as I understand God, that has taken me into some very wonderful places. And every spiritual philosophy, any great philosophy of life is in consonance with the 12 steps. I just thank God that I have the 12 steps. When people start throwing great thoughts at you, what's his name that writes the column in the paper? Anyway, he's always a business, executive, and he's always giving you lists, 1, 2, 3, 7 things of 7 habits of successful people, and blah, blah, blah. Well, we have that formula, those 12 steps work in life, in the real world, especially with family. Oh, and the important thing I think about sponsorship, if you're not a sponsor, and if you don't have a sponsor, you're hurting yourself. You need to move on. You got to get on with life. You have to attack it. The first phase, if there are any newcomers, the first phase is an attack. You got to do this thing as though your life depended on it. Kind of what John was talking about in his story, and reading and interpreting the book. We must attack it. If you have weight to lose, damn it, put the food down. Work with somebody. Get feedback. See what you're doing. It's going to hurt for a minute, but you're going to be relieved forever. It is it's not a magic pill. It's simple, but it's very hard. We are big egoists. We don't want, I have a flaw, one of the great, and this is a program of spiritual imperfection. Just like the Bible, the Old Testament is filled with flawed people. And that's the human condition. That's who we are. And so for me, I'm always failing forward. Somebody was talking about his food is getting a little sloppy here and there, and it's not as clean as it used to be. And is he a bad guy? And blah, blah, blah. So that has all of that noise in our head, the committee in our head that says, you're no good. Look, you did it again. You're a dummy. You can never get better. That committee in your head has to be killed. We have to destroy it some way, somehow. And the way we do it is to work with a sponsor, to look at our defects, to see where we've contributed, that we contribute to an ongoing dysfunction in the world and in our families. So, if we're blessed to have children and grandchildren, the great blessing, there's a lot of work and it's a lot of dysfunction, a lot of problems, but the great blessing is we get to learn. We get to see ourselves through them. When my little boy was going around picking on food every minute, I said, what the hell is he doing? And where did he get that? And
it's 30 minutes.
Okay. So I wanted to do 30 minutes to see where I was at and if I had more to say, or if we wanted to open it up for questions from you, or if I had questions for you. So thank you, Mary. But I think I'll just continue for a few minutes and then we'll open it up. So when I saw my little boy doing this thing, and I realized he got it from me. I never saw myself walking around hand to mouth. What do I get from this? I never thought about that. So I learned from my children, and your children very often will force you. My daughter, went to a women's college in the 70s, and I am this traditional wife, and she comes back from school with, all of this women's lib stuff, and it forced us into therapy, and I got to look at myself and my journey and what my paradigms are, what my foundational beliefs were. And I saw myself as less than. My husband was my master. I always would let him take the lead, and then I had to manipulate around him to get my way, which I was a master at. So that's another story, but that's lots of fun. I have a lot of fun stories. But the main thing about sponsorship, and so we learn from our sponsees, just as we learn from our children. Our sponsees can give us feedback that we identify with, and you think, oh my God, that's me. Oh, did I do that? Was that? And that is how the connection with your sponsee, the sponsee-sponsor connection, can be so heartwarming and connective, and exactly the thing that we are missing. We're missing connection. And so we're always looking for food. It's me anyway. And when you get that soul connection, that's that hunger inside. That's that hole in the soul. And when you get that connection, it happens in sponsoring. It happens in meetings, it happens in service, but and all of it. And all of it is worthwhile. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to embrace this program with all your heart. It works. It will give you a better life. Sponsoring, I don't know where I'd be without the feedback of those, that God squad around me. You know, I just came from Las Vegas. My 90th birthday, we had the celebration in Vegas. I was very worried about the food, the drink, eating too much and so forth. And I worked with a few people beforehand. I was ready for it. My son, my kids call it, you bird it, Mom. You eat like a bird. You just eat a little bit. And with the hypoglycemia and the hyponatremia, for me, that's what I have to do. And I was able to keep up with everybody. I was able to dance. And every time there were dysfunctional issues in family, I had a prayer. I had a formula. I knew what to do. I know they don't want my opinion. They'll ask me if they want it. And so I just relax into it. I understand I'm powerless, period. And when they want my advice and they want I have no influence. So it's just the reality of being who I am, liking myself, understanding the world was not meant for, it's not all about me. And, when I see someone, I have a granddaughter who just can't help herself and just wants to control everything. And I think, oh my, that's, she gets it. Maybe it's in our genes, who knows? Anyway, I'm so grateful to be here, to be on this journey. It's important to know that there are phases in recovery that I think, for me, and this is my journey, and for many of the people I sponsor, we have started in an attack phase. We move into you're sober, you've got your food, it's released, and you can go on, you move on, and service helps us. Through all of this, service has always been underlying. It's never not been, speaking, going to meetings, doing the chairs. I'm a speaker getter today and I feel so good about it. I know everybody, so I am, an old timer. I've been given some wisdom. And I say this in all humility, but I do know that it's been a journey of the heart. I'm connected when most people aren't. I have watched a fellowship grow up around me. It's quite wonderful. And I hope you get that too. And if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks. Yeah, let's open it up for some questions and where you're at. Tell me where you're at and all that good stuff.
We will now open the floor for 2-minute questions and answers and shares for the speaker. Please focus your questions and shares on the topic of this meeting. For those of you who got here late, the topic of this session is Step 12, Working with Others, Sponsorship. Place your questions in chat, and the Zoom host will read them to the speaker. Please focus your shares on answering the question, what is your main takeaway? How will you apply this to your program?
Okay.
To share, please raise your virtual hand by selecting raise hand at the bottom of the reaction menu located at the bottom of your screen or at the bottom of the participant list. If you're joining by phone only, please use *9 to raise and lower your hand. The leader, that's me, will call on you to share. Please unmute to speak. The timer will signal when time's up. The meeting is now open for questions and answers and sharing.
And just to make clear, you are all now allowed to unmute yourselves. And I don't see any questions in the chat. In other meetings, sometimes the questions and the shares all went to just the raised hands. That's up to y'all. But I see some raised hands, so go for it, Darlene.
Maria G., would you like to unmute and
Yes,
ask your question?
yes, I am Maria.
Sure.
I'm a compulsive overeater and sugar addict. And I've been in the program just under a year. And I have a question for, first of all, I just totally loved her, Beverly, her share and her explanation of how to be a sponsor. I just recently began sponsoring, and I realized I've already done a lot of things wrong. And well, maybe just I don't know. I feel like I haven't done things that right, but it's mostly about and talking about myself and my experiences. And I'm thinking that might not be good, or I can share my experience in strength and hope, but not talk too much about my life, right? Is that what you? I'm babbling.
I'm not quite clear on your question.
Well, I just tend to, if she has an issue, I'll share my experience if I've had it.
Yes.
And then I kind of go on and on. And I'm aware that now, and my sponsor told me that, just share your strengths and experience and hope. And I don't listen enough, I think, too, as listening is important as well. So I just wanted to thank you, Beverly, for your wisdom. And I sure enjoyed looking at your face. You are beautiful.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you. I pass.
Okay.
Okay, Tina from Arlington. You want to go?
Hi, yeah, I'm Tina. I'm a compulsive overeater, sugar addict, and bulimic. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. And I'm not a sponsor yet. I haven't finished doing my steps with my sponsor. So I'm looking forward to help others. And that's my purpose of being here, is to help myself, then helping others. And I really like the way you put it about sponsorship, to make sure that you have a sponsor before you can sponsor. And I like that concept. And I just love, it was 30 days for me. And I have, from sugar, I never had 30 days before without sugar. But so I am really grateful that I have 30 days yesterday. Thanks. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Hi, Darlene, we do have a question. A person asks me to be her sponsor. She calls me maybe once or twice. What is my next right action?
What is she wants? Well, if you don't get anything out of it, it is not a sponsor in my book. It has to be a two-way street. You're not, no one needs to suck off of you. You are going to give and receive, and giving is receiving, because as we give back, we receive. And if that chain doesn't work, you say thank you. And, you know, I don't know what the situation is, but there are polite ways of moving on. And either it works or it's got to be a two-way street. You have to give, and you are here, I sponsor for my recovery. And that's what Bill Wilson said. And incidentally, Bill Wilson didn't have a sponsor when he was helping others. And in the beginning, okay, go ahead.
Okay, Vicky, you want to go?
Sure. My name is Vicky, and I live in Houston and in Kansas, and I commute back and forth. Anyway, I'm a newcomer, and I am a compulsive overeater and a sugar addict and a recovering alcoholic for 31 years.
Okay.
But I you know, I turned to food a long time ago. So happy birthday to you. And you are an amazing woman, and you are my role model. Yes.
Yes.
And I want what you have, and I don't know how to get it.
You can get it. If I got it, you got it.
Okay.
You can get it. You can get it. You have to be, you're doing it. I must say that for AAs, it's a little difficult. OA is a little difficult because the concept of perfect abstinence doesn't translate. And so that's a problem. And you need to work with someone who understands that, who will put it in perspective for you so that you can work around it to a food sobriety. In my opinion, you have to attack that. You have to attack the phase, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that's part of why alcoholics have so much problem in our program, because of the term itself that implies perfection. So that has to be tempered with your own experience and with your sponsor's experience. Welcome to the program. This is for you. This whole convention is just for you.
Amen.
Yes, we're delighted. We're
I'm
delighted. You're going to find someone that you resonate with who can help you.
Okay.
And, there are lots of us.
I'm an emotional binge eater. Yesterday I binged.
You're in the right place.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Tana, you got a question for Beverly or comment?
Yes, Beverly, I just appreciate you so much, and thank you so much for coming. And I remember the first time I ever saw your name, it was in a Region 3 service book. And then when I got to meet you, I was thrilled. And I probably met you probably 40 years ago. And I have that same joy and that same excitement about life. And you have been my role model for 40 years. And I danced the last 2 nights for 3 hours each. My husband and I dance all the time. Maybe that should be part of recovery. But anyhow, I just love you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us.
Oh, Tana's one of those bright lights in the program and has been for 100 years. And what a joy. And she's the one who invited me to speak. So thank you, Tana, for doing this. And I want you to speak at my Friday morning meeting. So I'm going to be sending you an email. So, yes. payback.
We have a question in the chat, which from Carol Lee. Why do you, Beverly, use food sobriety as a term and not abstinence?
Oh, funny you should ask. As I just explained to the newcomer, Vicky, who is an AA person, for me, it's been the term abstinence. So, you know, Roseanne was not sober when she started this program. She was on amphetamines. And so she was a rigid, and abstinence seemed to be the missing ingredient. And in the attack phase, it's an important thing, but it also caters to the diet mentality. And the diet mentality is all or nothing. Either and that is the part, either I am good or I am bad. We are not bad people getting good. We are sick people getting well. So for me, I was a perfectionist, I got that tendency. So I had to break that. So if I didn't do it perfectly, well, what the hell, I gained 50 pounds. And that first 2.5 years of my recovery was that way. So it's like how much, and then I did, as I say, 20 years, back-to-back abstinence. And so it's how long do I want to beat myself with that perfection stick? It kept me from the sunlight of the spirit as much as I was able to go to the sunlight of the spirit to help others. I see how locked up I was as a human being, that spirit. I have difficulty with, I don't have difficulty with the word. It's an important part of OA. Would I like to change it? Yes. Have I tried? Yes. Am I a controller? Yes. But today, I understand that it works for so many people. But for me, food sobriety it puts it in perspective. I am not going to go to my 90th birthday and not eat this phenomenal presentation of beignets on a tree with lights. And they didn't.
Beverly, it's time.
Okay.
I have a question in chat, and that is coming from Vicky. Where do you go to meetings, and is there Zoom? I put information about my meeting that does have a Zoom meeting. What about you, Beverly?
Yes, our Friday morning, Phoenix OA intergroup, Friday morning, 10 to 11.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? We have time for one more question or one more share. Anybody? We want to thank Beverly and everyone who attended this session.